Rachel. Rachael Popek is the executive coordinator for the 100,000 Poets for Change event at the Boston Public Library, working alongside with R. Jeffries, organizer and co-chair, and Kathleen Battetti, who's a friend, was a friend of mine. I met her recently through Facebook, who's the coordinating liaison and co-chair. On September 29th, 2012, the largest single poetry reading in the history of the world, the 100,000 Poets for Change, will be at the Boston Public Library. And this event will also be archived, recorded, and stored at Stanford University in California and simulcast throughout the globe on that day.
Yes.
Rachel is also the producer for the popular Right Step radio show with Mr. Jeffries on Blog Talk Radio. She's a master pastry chef by day, working for multigrain bakeries as an R&D specialist and quality director. Rachel also owns Sweet Elegance Confections, her own small business, making custom cakes and pastries for special events. Welcome, Rachel. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
So, Rachel, how did you get involved with this 100,000 Poets for Change? I mean, you're not a poet.
No, I'm not a poet. I have a good friend of mine, R. Jeffries. He is the poet. I produce his radio show, so when he decided he was going to do the 100,000 Poets for Change event, I kind of got pulled in along with him, and then just became absolutely enamored by the entire prospect of it. It's just amazing to me that something that is usually so benign as poetry can be used in such an activist manner. And over the centuries, people always thought poetry was something benign and quiet and artistic and eccentric. And yet, here it is being used to delve right into the issues of humanity.
That's the common perception of it.
Yes.
But actually, we know that poets have been killed, and for what they, behind the Iron Curtain when it was under, and there's this long history of poetry activism. But most people think of it as a stuffy, thing with some, old codger falling over everyone asleep. But it's not. And look at the slam poets, for instance,
right.
and all that. But.
And there's just so much of it that I'm learning about. It's not my field, as you know, culinary arts is my field. So when.
But you are a writer.
I am a writer. Yes, I am right now working on my own books. So, but I'm learning about what the different fields of poetry, the history of poetry, how it's actually been. Used in so many ways to not only tell a story, but to set a scene or to begin a movement. I mean, poetry has just been one of the moving factors throughout history.
All right, and now that you're new to poetry, relatively new to poetry, have there been any poets who have who are you really attracted to?
When I was younger, I was absolutely in love with Robert Frost. I loved Robert Frost, and I loved the stories that he told. And my parents used to read Robert Frost, but at the same time, I had a picture book of Ansel Adams. So between the two of them, I had the visual and I had the story. But as I got older, parents moved on their own separate ways. The poetry kind of went by the wayside. I'm been reading some of Helene Cardona's work. I've read some work from Kathleen and a few others. So it's naming a particular poet right now. It's still all so new. There's just so many.
Doug Calder, I guess.
I'm sure I will love his poetry.
So tell me. Give me the the game plan for this event. It's going to be broadcast like all over the place.
Yes, it'll be
just the Boston one, or
all of them will be. The 29th there will be events, over 600 events that I know of are.
So how long is the broadcast going to be? It's going to be like.
The broadcast it'll be simulcast because all the events are at all different times of the day. Some of them are 2-3 days long.
So it's going to be like broadcast on what? Like TV, internet TV?
It'll be on internet TV, yes. I'll get the exact information for you, but it is it's going to be
Huge.
Huge.
Now, they did it last year, too.
They did.
Is it going to be bigger than last year?
Yes, it is. Last year, there was, I think, 400 and change events. This year, there's over 600 and counting. There's one that we just got now that we're finding out about. It's going to be in Dedham, same night. So we have. There's a lot of them going.
So the one in Boston is going to be in the Robb Lecture Hall, or is it going to be?
It's going to be in the mezzanine at the Boston Public Library.
Okay.
From 1 to 3.
Okay. Open to the public.
Open to the public. We have some of our poets, Jan O'Neill.
I know her very well.
Samuel.
Sam Cornish, the Boston,
Cornish.
good friend of mine.
We have Charles Coe.
Another great gentleman I know.
We have a bunch. I can't think of them all.
Doug Holder.
Doug Holder.
I'm thrilled to be part of this. Really am. And Harris Gardner, a good friend of mine, who runs the Boston
coming.
National Poetry Festival at the Boston Public Library for the last 12 years. Great guy.
So it's an amazing list of people.
And this other gentleman, he's a African-American poet, and I forget his name again. He's a friend of Kathleen Bettetti's.
Charles Coe?
No, there's another one. He's, I forget his name. Anyway.
No, I can't think of it.
Yeah.
I have them all jumbled up in my head at the moment.
But there's a great lineup, so to speak.
And R. Jeffries. He'll be reading.
And R. Jeffries, the mysterious, as we say, we don't know what he looks like. You know what he looks like.
I know
we
what
don't
he looks
know
like.
There's some, he has a mysterious picture on the on his Facebook. And as you were saying,
Edgar Allan Poe's silhouette.
Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe's silhouette. So mystery makes people, take the mystery out of anything, so that people get, Mm-hmm. So, now you're also a producer for Right Step.
Yes.
And tell me, and that's a popular radio show.
Yes. It's on Blog Talk Radio.
It's on Blog Talk Radio.
Yep.
Tell me about your involvement with this show, and tell me a bit about it.
The Right Step Radio Show interviews up-and-coming artists, musicians, poets, writers, and discusses the aspects of what it takes for them to write what it is they do, the steps they use, and we talk about, obviously their upcoming book or album, whatever it is that they're coming out with, because writing music's not too unlike writing poetry. Mm-hmm. So we talk with musicians and poets and writers, and we talk to them about their own personal process through creation, what their creation is. What did it take for you to create this? One story comes to mind. We had Andrea Pollard, Dr. Andrea Pollard, who has a East meets West philosophical approach towards healing yourself and having a happier life. She has a great book out, and she took 12 years to write her book, because every time she thought she had a chapter, something would come and slide her back to where that didn't apply anymore. So she needed to find what were the permanent steps, not the little fixes. It took her almost 12 years to write her book. So it was an amazing story, and just to hear the process she took to make sure that she wasn't giving the wrong advice.
How do you find your guests?
A lot of them are Jeff's friends. He has an integral network. Some of them are people who come to us. Others, we go out and we send them when we hear that a new book is coming out that interests either me or Jeff. We'll send them a request for them.
How
to
did you
be on
meet
the
Jeff
show.
again?
I've met Jeff. Long story short, I met him because of a common website we were both on, and that was for writers. And we started up a conversation with one email. Hi, how you doing? This is what I do. Who are you? And he wrote me back, and it started off just chain bang. We were go busters, and he said, I need someone to help me get my radio show back on the air. You want to help? And I said, I can do that, because that I can do. Write poetry? I haven't got two left thumbs for rhyming.
Well, a lot of poetry isn't rhyming these days necessarily. It's
That's
free
true.
verse.
That's
true. Anyone can You can take the courses, but you have to want to do it. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
No,
So actually, we need more readers than poets. Actually,
exactly. And I do a lot of reading, but I stand behind the curtain, and here's the Wizard of Oz doing his thing, and I'm pulling all the levers.
Which is a lot of talent. My brother Donald is a Broadway lighting designer, and he's won Tony Awards and all this for Lion King. But he's behind the scene. No one knows him except other lighters. He's famous, but and that's how he likes it. Behind the scenes, behind the scene, but essential because you don't think about the lighting. No. But if you don't have the lighting, the play is going to suffer. It's all part of atmosphere
and Jeff was doing his radio show for a very long time without a producer, and then he took a hiatus of it to do his writing. When he was bringing it back on, he decided that he needed someone there. And the first show that he had a producer. He goes, "Yeah, you're a keeper. You're staying on because I don't have to watch the clocks, and I don't have to do this. I don't have to change adjustment volume or anything else. You've got it all. All you have to do is talk. Talk to your guests. Listen to your guests. That's all you got to do. I'll handle the rest."
Wonderful. I was going to say you're a pastry chef. You're a master you're a master pastry chef.
A master pastry chef.
Okay, you're a master pastry chef.
Yes.
And you're also an R&D development. Do you know? Actually, you must know about Proust's little Madeleine, the cake. It's called a Madeleine cake.
Yeah.
You ever make one of those?
No.
Okay. But it's the remembrances of things past started with started with the tasting a little cake or the smell of a little cake. I can't remember which, and it just went into like about a 1,000-page novel. Just
nice.
And food is very evocative.
It is.
Food is. I know I've written poems about food, everything from gefilte fish to, knishes. I'm Jewish, so I'm very much into that.
My family's Jewish.
Yeah. So, and food is very evocative, and now it's a serious course of study.
It is.
But as a master pastry chef, I mean, that ain't chopped liver. It's so to say. You have to be very creative. Tell me a bit about your interesting job there.
It started off literally. Someone actually dared me because I was doing it from home, kind of the mom thing, making cakes and stuff like that. Someone actually dared me to take the courses and see if I could promote myself. I thought, all right, a 2-year course, why not? I'm at home mom anyway, might as well. And I took the courses, and my father, who worked for IBM, traveled the world as a salesman for years and years, said to me, I know someone in Marseille who's willing to take you on as an apprentice, but you have to go over there, and you're going to be over there for a long time. I don't know how long until you're done. And it took a lot of debating, a lot of thought, a lot of soul searching before I could think of.
And you had kids and a family and all that at that time?
I had 2 kids at the time. They would go with me if I went. So I had to think about it. And I did.
Probably a great experience.
It was. Arranging a nanny over there was difficult. But I would go there, and then every weekend I'd go to Paris, because just... And that was get on the train, go to Paris, get on the train, go back to Marseille, and that was my life for almost 3 years. And
great experience.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And when I came back here, the master who trained me said, "America's no place for a woman pastry chef. You should think about staying here." And I didn't know how right he was until I got back here.
But you seem to be doing well, right?
I'm doing well now. But when I first came back, certificate in hand, I had my qualifications and everything else, but I was green. I hadn't worked in anything but his kitchen, the master's kitchen. So when you come back here and you don't have the experience, it's kind of like being fresh out of college and not being able to find a job. How about also being a woman? That was extremely difficult. It is a very male-driven. Almost all of them are men, but the masters are. Very few are women. But it's not.
Has that changed now?
It's changing.
Yeah.
There's more of us out there than there were before. When I first came back in the 90s, there's more now. But the mastership almost seems to be something that women don't go all the way and finish, because it does require so much time. It's so much dedication, and usually by the time you're hitting that, you're in that time of your life when you're normally having children and
Right.
getting married. So
You can't be devoted to the profession that you need to be. You're an artist, and an artist has to be. And I don't know, this might be difficult, but can you make any parallels to the creativity of being a pastry chef to that of being a writer?
yes, everything starts with a summation. You start off, what's my story going to be about? How am I going to break that story down? What are the chapters going to be? Who are my main characters? All of that you do when you're writing your book. You do the same thing when you're going to build a cake, when you're going to build a reputation. Who am I? Who am I going to be? Who am I going to be to my customers? It is all, you have to build that. You have completely from scratch, because when you come into this world, you are nobody until you build your reputation. And then, when you build a cake, you have your foundation layer, you have your supports, you have your next layer, you have your supports, you have your accessories. They're all exactly the same as writing your book.
So you're writing a cake.
You're writing a cake.
And so, and the R&D, what do you do for them? R&D at this big bakery?
I assist the master baker that's there in developing new recipes, new formulations for our large chains, the chain restaurants that we serve.
And these are only whole grains? Whole grain breads?
No, we do a lot of different ones, but we do artisan breads, which is vastly becoming a lost art in America. The big loaf of bread that you have sitting in the middle of the table, that you actually broke bread with your family with. We're bringing that back through the restaurants and the grocery stores. So you now see big sections of the grocery store where it's fresh bread in a paper bag. A lot of those are our breads.
Okay. What the name again is?
Multigrains Bakery.
Multigrains, okay.
Yep.
Okay, you got about... oh yes, I wanted to touch upon the memoir you're writing. Do you have a name for it yet?
Surviving, it's Living Beyond Cancer, not just surviving.
Do you have a publisher yet?
No.
Looking for one.
Nice.
So, tell me a bit about your journey.
February of this year, I received a diagnosis of cancer and was told that I had a 9-centimeter tumor. It was stage 2, and that I was at a high risk of moving to stage 3 if I didn't start treatment right away. I am your middle-aged single mom with, the mid-paying job, your average working woman who, without work, you have no insurance. Without insurance, you don't have treatment. And all what I do for my job when I'm not doing R&D is writing quality programs, writing lean programs, which take the absolute best of what you've got and spread it throughout the entire facility. That's what it does. So I use those same principles and applied them to my life, compartmentalizing what was great, taking out what was unnecessary, so that not only could I survive cancer financially and physically, but I could live through it too. And I wouldn't be buried in debt when I was done. I wouldn't be overwhelmed and without a job. When you're out of work, the FMLA laws only give you 6 weeks. I had 10 weeks of treatment coming up. So with all of that in place, how am I going to survive? I can't take the time off of work. So I determined that I was going to work completely through. I was going to miss as little work as possible. When all was said and done, I actually never missed a scheduled day of work when it was all done, because I was able to not only physically but emotionally and mentally compartmentalize. It's work time. Yes, I don't feel good. Yes, my hair is falling out. Whatever it was, but
you see, I have that solved already. The hair falling out, because
see, you're all set.
Suffice to say that I think there's a lot of people who find themselves in the same dilemma, and many of us will find themselves in the same dilemma.
Yes.
Cancer affects 1 out of 3 people at some point in their life.
Yes.
So I think it's a book that's needed. I know I asked you to bring in some reading. I know you're not a poet, but you're going to bring in some prose or some excerpts from your book or some. What are you going to read?
Actually, what I have here is one is from last year's 100,000.
Were you involved in that too?
For Change. No, I wasn't, but I do know this author. And the other one is one that my daughter wrote for my grandmother.
Very good.
So I have these two that I'm going to bring.
And now your daughter's going to be on the internet because you're.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So the first one is the one from last year's event, and this is
Okay.
a political poem. It was based on the changes coming in healthcare.
Okay.
And says, tinkered tots in credentialed suits tally their marks in work pursuits. Timeless carriers of careless wares, employment centers and deceit lairs. Is this the bounty of a land so free? Or are these the captives of slavery? Bound in chains to active calling, at risk of elderly democracy falling. A pitiful quest to undermine aging, voices poisoned, inarticulate raging. At their seats till dawn till dusk, the unthinkable do what they must. Surrender all to a company designed and dialing in debauchery. Summoning the elderly into a trap, scheduling doctors and financial caps. At risk health management's deeds, allowing children to plant the seeds. Leading the elderly herds of fodder into a labyrinth of greed's slaughter. Phoning our grandparents every day, leading our morality in its decay. A health company for modern sin, not what we do, but how we win. Employees mapped for the scores of innocent elderly and nothing more. If not for the quota of this demise, employment will be compromised. What say you of a company root in soaring profits of our destitute? Perhaps this is the bell that does toll. Is it a job or our nation's soul?
Who wrote that?
It was Kathleen Payson
Okay.
who wrote that, and it was read during one of the events at the 100,000 Poets for Change.
Okay.
And
Which
then-
again will be September 29th, 1 to 3 p.m. at the mezzanine of the Boston Public Library, open to the public.
Yes.
Okay. You gonna read another one for us?
Yes.
We got about 5 minutes.
This one my daughter wrote,
What's her name?
Raven
Raven.
Popek.
Oh, okay. So she's a Raven poet.
Yes, she is. She's actually a very good
That's an
writer.
interesting name to give her after the pose Raven. Did you name her after that?
Yes, I also named her after the...
Because that's an evil bird, you know. I know.
Actually, it's not.
In pose poem, it is.
Yes, it is, but in the Cheyenne... Her name is Raven Cheyenne.
Yeah.
So she's actually named after the Cheyenne... Cheyenne word for the word for the trickster. The raven was the trickster in the Cheyenne religion, and he was the one who brought color to the world because he stole great spirits.
Oh, so this is a Cheyenne raven, not a Poe raven.
Yes.
And your daughter is how old?
My daughter is 15. She'll be 16 next. 16. She'll be 17 this year.
Wonderful. Well, lay it on us.
All right. I walk alone and do so by choice. For days, the only sound is my voice. I am not lonely, my needs are met. I've found nothing I can't deal with yet. In hard times I reach for the power in the sky. Oh, like others, sometimes I do cry. Then my tear ducts get cleaned, and again happy times can be seen. Lived a good youth, was a happy wife, a mother, a grandmother, what a life. Today, when some would worry and fret, even in pain, with a smile I said, there is so much more life to live, so much more I have to give. I'll continue to walk alone, but lonely not, just thankful to you and all that I've got.
Great. And another one?
That's the only two I brought with me.
Oh, okay. So let's ask about the website for the Poets for Change. If people wanted to find out more information, what's that website?
That site is, I'll make sure I read it so I get it exact. It's www.100tpc.org. And all of the events are linked through that website. So our event you can find on that website. You can also find it through R. Jeffries' blog at The Right Step with R. Jeffries. You can find it on there as well at Blogspot Radio.
And how would I know when you're airing shows on your Right Step Radio?
The Right Step Radio show right now is on hiatus while Jeff is writing. We'll be back on in October after the event. It's every other Wednesday, the first and third week of each month. On Wednesday from 7 to 7:30 p.m.
Every
Eastern.
Wednesday, you say the first and what?
The first and third week of each month.
7 p.m. on.
7 p.m.
And you just go to the Right Step on Blogspot.
If you go to Blogspot Radio and put in The Right Step, with R. Jeffries, it'll pop right up.
Is that connected to the Blogger, Google Blogger?
Yes.
Same thing.
If you put in The Right Step on any search engine, his site will pop up.
Okay. Okay, that's great. I'm just going to read you an event, since we've got a few minutes, that Kathleen Pattetti is putting on the exact same day, after
Yes.
the event. And ours is the Ibbotson Street Press Medicine Wheel Productions. It's a small press celebration. It's going to be at 7 p.m. at the Medicine Wheel Studios, which is in South Boston, 110 K Street, second floor. It's accessible by subway, Red Line, Broadway stop. We're going to have a number of presses there. My own, the Ibbotson Street Press, the Wilderness House Press, the Off the Grid Press, and the Savannah Barber Press. And we'll have anyway, what are you going to do? We got